Okay, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Mask Off podcast. Today we have your hosts Aditya Jain, Devang Khetan, and Agrim Mittal, and we have a very special guest with us today. Her name is Dior. Hi, Dior.
Hi.
So, how are you feeling today?
Uh, Nervous, I guess.
Fair enough. It's fair enough. That's the very majorly the feedback we get from all our guests. But thank you for joining us today. So, if you could just give a brief introduction about yourself before we start.
Um, I'm Dior. I'm 16 and I'm from Bombay, I guess. And I talk a lot about things. I don't know what else to say.
That's fine.
Um,
And we would really love if you talk a lot today about all the things to the
I'll try.
to your heart's content. Don't hold back at all. So Devang, if you could give a brief about what we are doing
Yeah,
here
so
today.
basically, the brief is so one of the reasons that we approached you was in light of the recent incident which involved a certain individual getting added to a group by 6 people and where they continued to insult her. But we actually want to focus on not what happened in the incident, but like how you approach the problem.
Okay.
So how it actually, like you said, we had no clue you live in Bombay. So you live in Bombay, and the incident reached Noida, and empowering the individual itself. So that's something that we want to focus on rather than the whole incident that took place actually. And so basically, we'll be focusing on topics like body shaming here, and also something that you do personally, which is your forties and for her stories, which I just went through yesterday, and I like the whole concept a lot. So yeah,
Yeah. So if you could just before we start, you could talk about like the incident, but mainly about what your thought process was behind the entire incident, like from top to bottom, like when it was going down and when you got to know about it and how you while you were approaching it. So like your entire thought process behind the entire thing.
So, Archie, the person in question, was a friend of mine. We hadn't really known each other for a while. We probably just started talking. And she just called me suddenly. She texted me and she said that something had happened and she was like really freaked out about it. And she called us, a group of friends of, we had a group and we had a call, and she told us what had happened. And she sent us screenshots and everything. And I was obviously quite surprised at what was going on. So I asked her to add me to the group chat so I could talk to these people. So I sent a voice message to them after reading all the chats, like what they were saying. And I told them that what they said was not cool and they should be ashamed of themselves talking like this about another woman in 2020. And we weren't planning to take it that far, honestly. We weren't going to post about it. We just wanted to make them understand that what they did was wrong. Um, and one of the girls did apologize. She wasn't that involved, and it was pretty okay until one of the girls who had done everything, who had said all these things, um, continued to insult her. And that's when we decided that maybe we should talk about it, because unless you get it out in the open, no one's really going to like do anything about it, because this has personally happened to me and other people as well. The whole body shaming thing being talked about in groups in a very lewd manner, and I just felt like it was enough, and we did get a pretty good reaction out of it. So yeah, I guess that's what happened.
Yeah, because like honestly, like the entire thing really blew up, obviously. But
Yeah, we didn't expect it to blow up that much, actually.
yeah, I mean, it was pretty surprising. But the surprising thing was like, obviously, just a few months ago, in while the entire lockdown was going on, we had that entire incident of the girls' locker room and the boys' locker room, right? And that had a pretty massive outrage. And even after that, we still have situations like these today. It was quite,
I'm pretty sure they made another group and they're continuing to like talk about
yeah, that
this.
was very shocking. But honestly, the way you guys spoke up, right? That's the main thing we have today, the main topic we're going to talk about, because like speaking up about these issues takes a lot of guts, right? It takes it takes a lot of bravery to do that. I mean, I'm pretty sure if that happened to me, I would probably be crying somewhere in the corner. But that's it takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of balls, if I can say very bluntly, to do that. So massive, massive commandments for you for doing that. But the main thing is, what was the purpose? Like, obviously, if you, from your perspective, why do you think those guys did what they did? Right. Obviously, why they started it, but why they continue doing that? Right. And after that, what was the purpose of you exactly talking to them and raising awareness? What was the exact purpose of it?
I feel like the reason they did it was because they were jealous about something.
Yeah, I
And
guess it got some boy something
yeah,
and
it was
Yeah, that's
something
something like that.
really stupid.
Okay.
And I was going through the chats and I remember thinking, this is what people are fighting about. Like, there are so many things going on in the world right now, and this is what they choose to talk about. So I do think it was because of jealousy. And usually, I don't want to generalize or anything, but I've noticed among a few female friends of mine that whenever stuff like this happens, whenever a girl is jealous of somebody else, they always seem to attack their feminine traits. And like they were making comments about the size of her breasts
Mhm.
or how she hadn't waxed. And that, I feel, that is personally what upset me, because I feel like as women, we're always expected to like be women, and have that certain image about ourselves. And to still be holding on to that image and making fun of somebody for not having that ideal image is kind of what upset me that much. Um, and I feel like even if you are jealous of somebody, it's not really a reason to comment on their body, because it's not something you can really control. And that is what mainly what upset me.
But when you talk about like the, as you said, you've noticed this happening along your friend groups. So is that a common thing? Not just your friend group, but do you think that's a common thing around people?
I personally try not to involve myself with those kind of people, but yes, it is definitely common. And it is a huge insecurity to like not fit that ideal body type. It is a huge issue for some people because it can actually affect them a lot in the long run, personally speaking as well.
Mm.
So to see that being done, it's really saddening, because we're
that's
trying to fight it and
insight
people are just kind of
also.
encouraging that.
I guess that's an
But
insight
I was
because we have these broad topics came up like women for women, women empowerment, like, and this is what actually separated this incident from the rest, which like whatever's happening, because it's like girls insulting girls over like a topic that's, I'd say, very naive, over a boy.
Very
So
petty, to be
it
very
was just
petty.
weird for me to read also.
Yeah.
Like the let's in comparison to the girls' locker room, if let's say it's it's actually weird. Like the situations are completely contrasting from each other, and yet for this to happen like in 2020 right now, it just feels weird.
It does. It definitely does. And the fact that they want like I don't want to like there was a huge thing. We did get a little bit of backlash because people were like, you can't call them out on social media because that's wrong. But first of all, we weren't expecting such a huge reaction. The reason it got such a huge reaction is because obviously it was a valid topic. People wouldn't be talking about it or wouldn't be sharing it if it wasn't something to be spoken about.
I was asking like while posting, what's going in the back of your mind? Like, what do you expect out of it, or what do you want out of it? Like,
What I wanted out of it was for it to stop,
Mhm.
because it had happened so many times already and people don't understand even one small comment. It may not affect you, but it may affect somebody else in a really bad way.
True.
um I was told something once in like 7th grade as in a very like humorous way. It was just a joke, but that led to so many years of insecurity, and I'm still like, insecure about myself because of that one small joke. Words can really hurt. If it doesn't hurt you, that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt somebody else. We weren't expecting such a huge reaction. Obviously, a lot of people ended up telling us we did it for clout, which is absolute rubbish
Mhm.
because we weren't expecting anything like this. um but yeah, that was the main thing. I was really happy with the reaction that it got because people came out in support. Obviously, a little bit of it was bad because they ended up sending like threats and stuff to the girls, which I did not respect at all.
Mhm.
And I did post on my story in support of them, and I said that it's not cool. But overall, the reaction was pretty good. But it was pretty scary to be out in the limelight like that, and that's just for me. So for the person who actually went through that,
Yes,
she would have been pushed way further into it. And
definitely.
I can't imagine what that would be like to have so many people like see that. It's
Definitely.
quite embarrassing actually. Um we had to think a lot before like posting it because they were really talking about her very badly, and so
Mhm.
it's not really easy to just like post something like that.
Yeah,
People think that we did it for clout and stuff, but it's actually not easy for us to talk about these things because it's we still have that thing inside us. Oh, somebody has spoken about that like this, and now I'm showing people what people are thinking, and they're gonna think the same thing about me. So it's definitely not for the clout.
yeah, and it's definitely not easy. But like, I feel like even though when you raise voices in such matters, like sensitive topics such as these, it's not easy. But like when you get support, there's obviously the good and bad sides of social media, right? But like I feel like it's very important because you have to have the bads with, you have to feel the highs with the lows, but you like those highs are definitely very important to like raise, make a movement, like start for change to happen in society for these topics, topics such as these, which really, as you said, words do hurt, right? And they can hurt anyone. Words probably hurt everyone, to be honest. Deep down they hurt everyone. So in topics such as these, we really need to think about, not think about like why people are doing it. It's not about clout, it's really about making change, raising your voice,
Yeah.
taking a stand against what's wrong. But speaking of taking a stand, I did watch your IGTV video about the Hathras rape, after the Hathras rape case, which was a very personal story that you shared, which again I got to commend you for that. It was very brave of you. But do you mind talking about that today?
Yeah, sure. Again, didn't do it for the cloud. It was incredibly hard. It took me like a few hours to record the video over a span of like 3 days because I literally like couldn't like maintain myself in a way that I would be able to
Mm-hmm.
talk properly to people and share my story because it was like it is very triggering to talk about some things. Um and I wasn't going to post it actually until a lot of people told me to because it's not easy to like come out and say I've been through something like this
Mm-hmm.
because it's not normalized. Talking about this isn't normalized. Going through it is normalized somehow, but not talking about it. The only reason I did it is because after the case came out and people were like reposting things on their story, like whenever something happens, people will always pick like the mainstream, like whatever's being posted the most and just like repost it in their story and maybe add like a few lines or something. But people don't understand this doesn't just happen in like remote areas where like people aren't educated or people don't have enough money. It's a very, very common thing that everyone goes through, and for some reason, nobody wants to talk about it. And the reaction that I got after I posted the video, I don't know how many DMs I got, probably like a few hundred, telling me about what they had been through personally. And these were all people I knew, like people from my school, people from my classes, who I had spent years with, who were some were abused by their family members, some were abused by their teachers, some were abused by their friends or their cousins or their relatives. And it was really shocking to see that because you wouldn't guess, right? Like if your friend or your sister or your girlfriend has been affected by something like this because we've done such a good job at hiding it. And I feel like that's what ultimately led to us creating for her stories and then later for his stories.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, basically, it just needs to be spoken about because it's not fair for us to just keep quiet about these kind of things. And it may be really hard, but at the end of the day, it does take a lot of pressure off to know that people know and people are working towards putting a stop to harassment.
And honestly, like when I saw that video, I could tell it's not for cloud. Definitely not for cloud, guys. right? You were very first. It was a very personal story. You were very emotional about it, and I could see that in the video. So I mean, great job. But the thing is, as you said, it needs to be spoken about, because after you did speak about that specific incident that happened with you, a personal story of yours, I saw like in your for her stories, and like a lot of people in general, they were empowered to talk about their own experiences, right? And they credited you for that. That Dior has helped us talk about this. We are encouraged and we are inspired by Dior, which was a really great thing. And I guess that's the thing was speaking up. When you speak, when one person speaks up, there's a lot of common incidents around the world, or just around you, that do happen regularly, specifically in topics such as these. It's very common, as you said, right? And when you speak up, when a single person speaks up, a lot more people do tend to join in, because they feel empowered, they feel very inspired by that, and that's what starts a movement, right? So is that like what the purpose behind your for her stories pages?
It was. And it is, yeah, definitely. For our stories, it's not only about the posting though. We are creating a community where people can just talk and open up and we can provide them support. Not all the stories we get are being posted. We post probably like 30% of the people that come to us.
Okay.
When they tell us personally, I want to post about this, I want people to know. And most of them choose to hide their identities because obviously it's not easy to like come out and say this has happened to me. But it's not, people think that it's just about the posting, but it's not. We actually want to be there and provide support. We have a counselor too. We have a help source in case things are really bad and people need a lot of help. So that's there too. It's mainly just to provide support. And I remember thinking personally when I was going through whatever I was going through, I wish I had somebody to support me and talk to me and tell me, this has happened to me too, but you'll get through it. And I'm there with you. Because I didn't tell my parents or I didn't tell my teachers. I didn't tell anyone because I didn't know what was happening to me. And I was embarrassed by it because I felt it was a reason to be ashamed. And I thought it was my fault because that is kind of what society has propagated, because victim blaming is a huge thing. And I wasn't comfortable talking about it until I was like 13 or 14, and people actually told me that this had happened to them too. And that's mainly the reason we started speaking up and providing and giving people a place to talk about it, or to talk about it to us. We just want to provide like a safe space where you can come forward.
Your point about creating a community, like, where people are open about it, they can share about their experiences in order to like improve the whole thing itself. I guess that is it's about time we actually made that change, because this is just getting out of hand, I think now. And also, like, not from your perspective, but I guess from the perspective of the person who's sending you something, is telling about experience. I guess it all comes, to the point, like, just talking about it helps. And it's not about just like even talking about small things, like, I was pushed by someone, this happened, or they said this to me. Like, even small incidents help. So I can only imagine, like, what would be the mindset of someone letting out this kind of steam which they have had for years.
Yes, we've
Finally,
got I'm so sorry I cut you off.
yeah, please continue.
But we've got people who text us. So usually, I don't know why, but most of the DMs that we get are really late in the night, like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. I guess people can't sleep and they're overthinking and they can't really rest. But as soon as we get the DMs, the last message is always, thank you for creating this account. Thank you, Dior, sometimes for speaking about this and inspiring me, whatever. And I already feel better talking about this because we've had so many people telling us, I've never spoken about this. I never let myself accept that this had happened to me. And I just kept on denying it until I saw that so many other people were coming forward. And it just feels so good to talk about it. And we haven't even answered their DMs because we're not awake at 3, we're not awake at 4. And in spite of us not even having said anything, they already say that I feel so much better. And that's what that you just need to talk about it. That's all that's what's going to help you. And we need to stop making being affected by sexual violence such a stigma. for some reason, we see it every day. It happens every single day, getting whistled at, like catcalled outside on the street. It's a daily occurrence at this point. And that's not stigmatized. But being affected by it is. And that's what we kind of want to normalize.
That's a great thing. Honestly, that's so heartwarming. But so obviously, like I saw like at least 3 or 4 posts which were specifically directed to you. That they were thanking you about what you said, and then they continue to talk about their own stories, their own experiences. So I can only imagine the number of DMs you got specifically for you, and obviously your page. So how did that feel for you? Like, did that inspire you more to talk more about these things? Like, how was that for
I
you when people were inspired by you specifically?
it it feels scary, I guess, because I wasn't I when I spoke about this, my page was a private page. I wasn't expecting to get a huge amount of this. I just wanted people to like I just wanted people to know that this is not something that happens to like 1 in 100 women. It happens to 1 in 3. And honestly, I don't even think that's right, because out of all the people, all the women I've spoken to about this kind of thing, literally one, I'm not even exaggerating, one person has told me they haven't gone through this out of
Wow.
all the girls I've spoken to about this. And that's a lot. Um, I only made it a public page because my friends told me to. And that's when it got such a huge reaction. It feels scary being in the limelight like that, I guess, because I'm a kid, and I'm like really bad with like being in the open and talking to people. I have major anxiety. So when this happened, it was kind of a shocker, but it feels good that people want to talk about it. Not only because of me, but just that people are inspired to talk about it, because that's the sole purpose of the video. That's what it was meant for. It wasn't meant to like call anyone out
Mm-hmm.
or tell people, oh, I've been through this, so like feel bad for me. It was to tell people that we need to get out here and talk about it, because it's not going to stop otherwise.
So about sharing stories, you've got pages of his and her. So do you see any disparities between them, like the amount of stories being shared? Because
Funny
stereotypically boys not opening up enough.
Yeah, actually, we were going to name the page For Their Stories, and the username wasn't available.
Oh.
And
Oh,
yeah, it was very annoying. I was really, really upset. And every single combination we tried, it wasn't happening. And it was like a huge issue. So we just decided, okay, you know what, let's just
okay.
go with photo stories. We can sort that out later. Because at that point, it was about the main reason we put it up was because of the gang rape.
Mm-hmm.
And then um so, I don't know, for some reason in our bio it was for women to come forward, and every single day like we were getting a lot of DMs, and we were feeling really overwhelmed by the response, because we wanted to help these people. We couldn't just like leave them, they've come to us for a reason, and now you have to like answer them. So we were like totally swarmed the first week, and like every time I'd like switch the account and I'd see women, I'd feel so bad. I'd actually feel so bad, because it was just like a page for women. And finally, when things sort of quieted down, like calmed down, I told my partner Aditi, we need to make something for guys too, because I personally know, like I know so many guys actually who have been through this. Thankfully, they've had the courage to like tell me about it. But I know guys who have been through this personally, even a few relatives of mine who have been through it. And it's not like guys don't go through it too. It's just that toxic masculinity is so prevalent in today's society that they find it harder to talk about it than women do. So we finally created For His Stories. The only reason it's a separate account is because we couldn't find the username. That is it. Otherwise, I would have definitely I really wanted to put For Their Stories, even
That has
though
to be. That has to
the
be like.
anonymous site we have now is
Yeah.
For Their Stories. Thankfully, that was available. Actually, that wasn't available, and we had to change, like, we had to do a lot of things. But yeah, I am actually very upset about that,
That has to be so
because
annoying. Like just one
it
user.
is so annoying. Because I honestly don't, personally, I don't like seeing gender.
Mhm.
Like, I don't really know how to explain it. That's a totally different topic. But yes, if I had the choice, I would do that.
Fair. But
Yeah.
yeah, so like the entire thing about speaking up, I feel like it does need to be talked about, guys. Just do speak up, right? As Dior has shown us, and just in general, when you do speak about stuff, it's just not about. It's generally not when you see people speaking about their experiences. It's definitely not about them wanting to pity, them wanting to gain pity or anything, because it takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of bravery to come out of that dark place and talk about something so sensitive and something so personal. And after that, when people other people do get inspired by that, and then suddenly it's a huge movement. That's exactly what we need to strive for as people. Just people. That's all I
But
can say.
like we should be cautious while speaking up because this time we saw a positive effect of posting the story and like girls getting the consequences. But I know for a fact one of my friend was framed into a thing which he didn't do, something a very sensitive topic related to a girl, and like that went like he was in a bad place for like 3 months after that, and that thing wasn't even true. Luckily, the thing did not go viral. It was just like it did not go viral basically, so he was safe. But yeah, I would say be cautious about sharing because the thing wasn't true and he just suffered because of it unnecessarily. So your
Yeah,
opinion on that?
that's also another thing that we do. We've had people coming up to us and saying, "Oh, my friend went through this. This is what happened. She's not comfortable to tell you, which is why, like, I'm telling you." And we don't post stuff about that. We don't post things unless we know for a fact that this person has gone through something like this. They don't have proof, obviously,
Yeah.
but and we don't call people out. People have told us this person did that to me, but we can't talk about that, right? Because what if it's not true? We don't want to falsely accuse someone. Even for my thing, the person who, whatever, I didn't accuse that person because I didn't want to like create a whole thing. And the recent post involving Archie, I I only posted that because I was a part of the group. I saw the chats, I saw everything that they said. The screenshots weren't sent to me by Archie, they were taken by me personally. So I know for a fact that all this information is true, it's valid. I was there. I have a screen recording, I haven't edited anything, which is why I posted about it. I don't post about things which I don't know are true or not. You have to post things which are like absolutely legit, because then it can just become like a whole other thing, and we don't want that, honestly.
I think that's like the very blurred line of some exceptions that might happen when people do decide to abuse power, such as social media.
Yes,
Not just
that's
women
not
though,
cool.
men, women, everyone. But I feel
Yeah,
like if like one case is false, I feel like 10 would be true in place. So at
that
this,
is true. The
yeah.
thing is, what happens sometimes is, um if 10 cases are like true or good and one case is not, automatically everything else becomes invalid.
Yeah.
At least that's how it's perceived. So there was a lot of drama involving the latest post because there was some previous group chat that I did not know about. And as soon as that came out, I don't know if you guys saw it, there was basically just a lot of drama. And as soon as that came out, people, like, the whole thing that the post was about, that just became invalid.
Okay.
Because if something has happened over here or something has happened over there, just focus on this instead of that. And that's honestly what upset me a little bit, because I had comments under my pages be like, "Oh, but the girl who was spoken about, y'all are talking about this, but y'all are such hypocrites because y'all were like bullying somebody." Personally, I was not involved in that group chat. I haven't known these people for more than a month or few weeks actually. Um, but just because something happened previously, which is not even related to this, that doesn't mean that this is not wrong. Like, I don't know if I'm making sense right now. I'm just blabbering. I'm really sorry. Y'all can cut this out if y'all have an issue.
No, it didn't make sense. Trust me,
No,
it
it's
makes
cool.
sense.
Yeah. I'm just like, what am I even saying? Sorry. But yeah, basically, as soon as something small comes up, people choose to ignore the big part of the problem, just because this happened doesn't mean that what they did was not wrong.
I guess
And
it's all about,
can't talk about this
yeah,
now.
it's all about trying to prove the person wrong. And I guess the half the people blaming you don't even know the story. They just know that something is not right, and we have to call them out on them because
People just
we
accused
have
us
to.
of editing screenshots and like stuff like that, which was absolutely ridiculous. Like, if you want, I don't know if you can like edit screen recordings, but I have a full screen recording of the entire conversation as well. But it
It's
was really
just a
annoying because people
small.
just wanted to pick at faults, and even honestly, even the good reactions, some of the reactions that were like encouraging us, they were not good either. Because people were like, oh, give us this person's ID or give us this person's number and we'll do the same to them. That's not what we want. That is literally what we're fighting against. You're part of the problem too. And then other people were like, oh, but like, she's bullied someone. And so like, how can you be a hypocrite like that? It was a lot of drama. People just want to like cause problems.
I feel
What
like
I spoke about personally
when
in
you
my
speak about
post
two
was
different
not.
things, yeah, when you speak about two different things, it's not about canceling them out as this is
Yeah,
wrong.
it
Right?
doesn't
They
exactly
will cancel
doesn't
out.
cancel them out. What they did was still wrong. You still have to
Yeah.
talk about it. That doesn't make a difference.
So that's why I feel like we should talk about all of them, right? We should talk about all of them, but as separate incidents, right? Talk about them
Yeah.
separately, but don't make them cancel. Don't make it a war. Don't make them
That's
cancel
what,
out.
that's exactly what people are doing. It doesn't cancel them out.
Yeah.
Oh,
And also, I feel like most people just jump on the bandwagon these days. Like they see a post, right? And
exactly.
just jump on the bandwagon.
Like,
Which I
do your research before you call somebody out.
Yeah, and I feel like even though it sparks a positive response, I still feel like those same people, as soon as like a certain negative incident comes out, as you said, they would jump on the other bandwagon. So
Yes, it's just a
yeah,
continuous. Yeah.
I feel like just
Oh,
I feel like when people do speak about things, the main approach we should take is probably take that information in, and just reflect on yourselves. Right? Don't point fingers. Don't
true.
don't think about, oh ye bhi hota hai. Take that information and take that experience in, try to sympathize with the other person, and just reflect on yourself individually. And that's exactly how change comes.
Yeah.
It's genuinely that simple.
And honestly, personally, the thing that I posted, if you go through the screenshots and the captions, it wasn't focused on the people who did it. It wasn't focused on, oh, this person has said this. It was more like, this is what has been said.
Yes.
So it wasn't calling out people, it was calling out their behavior and the kind of things that they said, which is what we need to fight against. We don't need to fight against the people involved. We need to fight against what they are doing,
Yes.
which is
The mentality, basically.
which is the important part. Just don't tell, oh, you body shame that person, you're bad. Just be like, don't body shame that person. Don't do it personally. That's all.
That's a great. That's a very simple approach, but most people tend to forget it though.
Yeah.
But
We
yes,
don't want a fight. We just don't do it.
true. So I feel like we're approaching the end of the podcast. But I guess you want to sum up everything. Just you want to have any last words, any just last message you
Be
want
a
to give
good
out?
person, man. That's like literally all you need to do. Don't body shame people. Don't be racist. Don't be sexist. Don't be homophobic. Just be a good person. Live your life. Live, and don't create drama unnecessarily.
I wish it was that simple though.
I know. Definitely.
But yeah, I feel like it's not a thing that's gonna happen instantly, right?
Yeah.
We have to
We need to work on it,
you have
obviously.
to go through the entire process of change, because it's something like such issues like obviously body shaming and a lot of other things, obviously the stigmas that we have in society, they have been prevalent for across centuries, right? And it's not something that just because we're in 2020 is going to go away instantly, but steps like these, when you speak up about stuff, right, when you do take correct approaches to deal with these type of incidents, that's when you do make small changes and it leads to a bigger thing.
Yeah, and honestly, learn. When I'm sorry if I'm like talking too much, but
Go on, please.
um, personally, I was not this person a year ago or 2 years ago.
Mhm.
I have grown a lot compared to the kind of person I was. I have learned a lot. And I'm blatantly saying this. I would have judged myself so much. Like 2 years ago, 2018 Dior was not a cool person.
Okay.
Like, I wasn't bad, but I wasn't that great either. And I admit that. And I'm really, really happy that I've had the opportunity to learn from my friends, from my peers, from the internet. Thank you for the internet. And overall understanding that the world isn't perfect, but we can make it ideal by working towards it. And it's not like you can't grow and you can't learn, because I've done that personally. And it feels much better to be that person. So just work on trying to make yourself a good person, and it'll happen. That's all.
There's actually a quote. I'll quote someone. It said, "A wise man knows that a wise man knows nothing," which basically means no one's perfect, right? Everyone has their fair shares of good things and mistakes. But if we can, as people, accept those, acknowledge those, and work to move towards a different direction from where we were in the past, that's all that matters. You don't need to hype it up any more than that. Just work towards your mistakes and get past those. That's all. So thank you so much, Dior, for being with us today. It was
Thank you for
a
having
beautiful
me.
conversation. And don't be nervous, right? This was, you actually did this better than us. I won't lie. This was much better than,
It's not we're like, oh,
like, हमें बात करनी नहीं आती अच्छे से, हमें इंग्लिश भी नहीं आती इतनी अच्छी. You practically drove the entire conversation.
I can't speak Hindi properly. I can't, yeah, to save my life.
And you
So,
made this work. So thank you so much for this amazing conversation. And I'm sure all the people listening would take something great from this. And yes, so more of the story, kids, speak up about issues and don't jump on the bandwagon. Life set hai tumhari. Baki,
And
thank you
be a
so
good
much, Dior.
person.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And this has been the fourth episode of the Mask Off podcast. We will see you guys next time. Peace.